O aumento da expectativa de vida provocou profundas mudanças no perfil da população mundial. Ciência, tecnologia e inovação estão na base dessa transformação. Do esforço inovador de empresas a uma legião de startups, estão surgindo cada vez mais tecnologias que contribuem para o prolongamento da vida com qualidade. Para a seção Longevidade e Tecnologias Aplicadas à Saúde, onde realmente estamos, convidamos Erika Györvary, coordenadora de tecnologia do CSEM, Centro Suíço de Eletrônica e Microtecnologia. Michal Neeman, vice-presidente do Weizmann Institute of Science. Wilson Cardoso, diretor de soluções da Nokia. E para dar início, passaremos a palavra a José Fernando Perez, diretor-presidente da Recepta Biopharma. Ele será o moderador dessa sessão.
Bem, boa tarde a todos. É um prazer estar participando dessa sessão. O tema é longevidade. É um tema de grande atualidade. A expectativa de vida das pessoas aumentou muito. A qualidade de vida vem melhorando. Isso tem tudo a ver com avanços tecnológicos, especialmente na área de saúde. São desafios que vêm sendo enfrentados com muito sucesso por cientistas, pesquisadores, empresas inovadoras. E nós temos um painel interessante aqui, com uma variedade de palestrantes. E eu gostaria de fazer uma introdução, porque nós estamos vivendo um momento muito bonito na história do desenvolvimento da medicina. Vocês sabem que o câncer é uma doença cuja incidência aumenta com a longevidade da população. A gente ouve todo mundo falar, mais pessoas morrendo de câncer, e é um fato, e tem mais a ver com a longevidade. Isso a causa morte principal no mundo, cada vez mais, nos Estados Unidos já é a principal causa morte, no Brasil já é a segunda e vai virar a primeira. Mas houve um grande progresso no tratamento do câncer nos últimos anos, devido ao avanço da tecnologia, avanço da imunologia. Vocês devem todos ter lido no jornal muito sobre imunoterapia do câncer. É um novo paradigma para tratamento do câncer, com um sucesso realmente surpreendente. É coisa dos últimos 10 anos. Há um autor que compara a descoberta e desenvolvimento da imunoterapia à descoberta da penicilina em 1945. E realmente os resultados são interessantíssimos. Se você olhar, por exemplo, um tumor como o melanoma metastático, até 10 anos atrás, era uma sentença de morte que podia ser estendida por mais 5 anos. Isso não é uma metáfora. A curva de sobrevivência de melanoma metastático com o tratamento tradicional de quimioterapia era uma expectativa de, no máximo, 5 anos para cada paciente. Hoje em dia, com o advento dos imunoterápicos, o primeiro imunoterápico já consegue estender pelo menos para 20% desses pacientes a expectativa de vida além de 10 anos. Quando entra o segundo imunoterápico, vai para 40% a sobrevivência em 6, 7 anos. E com a combinação desses imunoterápicos, espera-se que 63% dos pacientes de melanoma metastático tenham uma sobrevivência, uma sobrevida e vão morrer de outra doença. E isso não é só para melanoma metastático, está ocorrendo para várias outras modalidades de tumor, pulmão, cabeça e pescoço, linfoma Hodgkin, fígado. E cada mês que passa, e isso também não é uma metáfora, tem uma nova indicação para a qual os imunoterápicos estão se mostrando muito eficazes. Isso então é uma beleza, é uma maravilha da tecnologia. Mas nós temos um problema, certo, que é o de acessibilidade. Porque essas drogas, aqui no Brasil, e aliás no resto do mundo inteiro, o custo delas, o tratamento com um imunoterápico, é de R$350 mil por ano por paciente. E, portanto, essa é uma miragem. A imunoterapia não vai chegar aos nossos pacientes do SUS. A imunoterapia não chega nem mesmo aos pacientes que têm os planos de saúde normais, eu diria. Então, na realidade, nós estamos vivendo um momento bonito do avanço da ciência, maravilhoso. O Prêmio Nobel de Medicina do ano passado foi atribuído aos 2 descobridores dos 2 primeiros imunoterápicos. E, para nós brasileiros, isso aqui pode passar ao largo. Seria o equivalente a ficarmos ao largo da descoberta da penicilina. Não conseguimos imaginar mais o nosso mundo de hoje sem os antibióticos. Então, na realidade, é uma beleza essa sessão muito bonita, porque nós vamos falar de avanços da tecnologia, mas nós temos uns desafios importantes, especialmente num país como o nosso, para refletirmos sobre a questão da acessibilidade e de como a inovação tecnológica pode contribuir para que a imunoterapia possa ser acessível a todos nós brasileiros. Vamos passar então a ouvir a primeira palestrante, a doutora Erika Györvary, certo? Que é coordenadora de tecnologia do Centro Suíço de Eletrônica e Microtecnologia, e que vai nos fazer uma reflexão sobre o tema da longevidade e tecnologia. Por favor.
Can you hear me? Yes. So, first of all, I would like to thank you, the organizers, for inviting me here to speak here today. I would first like to give you a bit insight what this says. Here you say saying in the French-speaking area, it's XEM. It is a Swiss Center for Electronics and Microtechnologies. We see us as an innovation accelerator. Most probably you know Fraunhofer Institute, right? So CSM is very similar, but the form factor is different. We have the Swiss form factor of the Swiss army knife, that we say very small, but doing all in one. Our mission is develop and transfer technologies for the industry, and with the aim of increase the economic competitiveness and also, of course, create jobs. We are not academic, but we collaborate with the academic sector by helping them to reach the level that it can be mature to industrialize. The technological focus areas what we have at CSM, it's precision manufacturing, digitalization, and energy. And today I will focus mainly in 2 lines of our areas, that is the digital health and tools for life sciences. Under industry mandates, we work together with all sizes of companies, with startups, with medium size, with large industry groups, but also we work together with individuals that have a vision, an idea of a new technology that could be really breaking through, but they don't have the technology. And here we play the role of bringing the technology for their products. We have also created 43 startup companies in Switzerland. So we create an innovation ecosystem also. And actually, this business model 12 years ago woke the interest of Minas Gerais state here in Brazil. And we were invited to create CSM Brazil together, the Brazilian company Fear Capital, with the same aim to boost the Brazilian innovation ecosystem and, of course, creating new jobs. We had also another idea. Earlier today we heard about that Brazil is losing their talents. So we decided also to bring back some of the Brazilian talents in Europe. And we have in audience, we have a Daniele Moraes, that did a very nice career, 10 years at CERN in Switzerland, and we brought her back now, and then she's doing a great job in Brazil again. So today's panel is about health and the longevity. The question is, we live longer, but do we also live healthier? I think that there is a generation shift going on. If you think about our ancestors, they were not taking care of their health at all. And then you had this generation where they trust the doctors totally and all the drugs that are out there. And today, we are much more aware of our own responsibility. And in the future, of course, everything will be more and more personalized, and we get the organs that will be much more easily replaced than today is the case. So in the digital area, at CSM we develop technologies to enable the people monitor themselves much more, to really carry their own responsibility about their health. And it started actually 15 years ago with a nice project with the European Space Agency. The project was about to monitor the astronauts in very distant locations, to monitor their vital signs. And we developed hardware and software to monitor heart rate, EEG, ECG, respiration rate, temperature, activity, blood pressure, and so on. And we could measure this today from different body sites, like from ears, from the body core, from the wrist. And actually today, many of you are already using this kind of activity trackers and so on, and using them very much for sports. But soon you will be able to monitor more medical parameters, such as blood pressure. And actually our latest startup company, Actia, is developing a continuous blood pressure bracelet. Because hypertension, it's called silent death, right? So people don't even know that they have a hypertension till it's too late. But also the doctors in the hospitals, they would like to know much more and much more easily without having big equipment to monitor what is going on in the body of the patients. So here, another startup company of ours called SwissTom, they have developed a tool to monitor the lungs. These are just two examples of our startup companies, but we work, as I said, also with others. So there were two ladies that had the academic evidence that the body core temperature of the woman gives evidence of the fertile period of the woman. So they didn't have the technologies, but we had the technologies put into their product. And today, Ava is out there selling this fertility bracelet for the women and couples that want to get babies. And actually, they were the best startup company in Switzerland last year. We don't work only with companies in Switzerland, but all around in the world. And for example, the Finnish startup company from Nokia, Pulson, is there with the activity and heart rate bracelets. And actually, they created their research unit in Neuchâtel to be closer to us, but also to benefit from the very simple and reliable innovation funding support from the InnoSwiss in Switzerland. Another example is a cutting-edge Israeli company, actually, called NanoRetina, and they are developing retina implants. And they are benefiting from our knowledge on ultra-low power A6 chips. So here we have many cases where the technology inside comes from a research organization, but the company outside is selling the product. I jump now to another area because also the the drugs and the pharma was mentioned earlier by Fernando. So another area is the new tools for life sciences. So academia is out there developing a lot of technologies, but very often they really lack to have the technology in the form that can be used in hospitals. So they lack the standardization and also the automatization of these new novel methods. And that's where we come in. For example, a big problem of the pharma is actually it's lacking physiological relevant preclinical models. So till today, we use animal cell lines and animal tests for human drugs. Of course, there is a lot of incorrect correlations between the animal and human physiology, and also in vivo and in vitro. So the drug manufacturers, they fail, or then the drugs get more and more costly, or they get even a limited efficacy. But even the worst thing is that there are good drugs in there that are just lost in translation. A new way to investigate organ physiological mechanisms and drug testing platforms for personal medicine and disease modeling are required. So we believe that so-called organ on chips, that's the next big thing going on. Traditionally, tests are done with cell cultures just on a Petri dish, 2D, in incubator, no control, more, and then you take samples out to test the drug responses. But our organs, they are 3D. Our body is it's a big microenvironment that we are carrying on. It's much more complex. So we would also need much more continuous monitoring. So recent developments in the biology, in the material science, in the engineering, in the microtechnologies bring together the possibilities to have this new concept, organ on chips. And here you have a microfluidic system. You have cell cultures, or cells or tissues, or organoids, on a substrate, on electrodes, and you can do real-time monitoring, and you can have things automatized. You can have even several organs in a system on the same time. So at CSM, we combine our knowledge in the ultra-low power A6 microfluidics and micro manufacturing and sensing, and we have created a startup company, 3Brain, that are out there to be able to study brains on chips. So they have a platform where they have microelectrodes that can monitor the brain tissues on a chip. Another example is an EPFL startup company called Sun Bioscience. So they have organoids from stem cells, but they needed to have a more standardized method for the organoids. And organoids that can be used personalized medicine and for regenerative medicine applications. And we believe that the standardized regenerative process in the future is really an alternative for the organ transplantation medicine. So here just a small insight of the ecosystem that we are creating, and also on the different areas that we are working on the health era. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing this nice experience with us. Next, we are going to listen to Professor Michal Neeman, as a vice president of the Weizmann Institute of Science, and is a referential institution for science and technology development. We'll be pleased to listen to your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Weizmann Institute was actually established in order to expand basic research, fundamental research, expanding knowledge. But very early on, it was recognized by the founder of the Weizmann Institute, Professor Weizmann himself, that focusing on fundamental research is actually the pathway for disruptive technologies, revolutionary innovation that can actually change the way we do things. And the Weizmann Institute was the first, or one of the first academic institutions to install a technology transfer office. So while we focus on fundamental research, we are aware of the potential to impact the world for the benefit of humanity and to transfer technologies for exploitation. With respect to the topic of this session, obviously longevity is very important for all of us. Many countries now face increasing population that is older with a reduction in fertility. So older generations become larger than the younger ones. This is a very surprising finding for some of us. Israel, by the way, is an exception. We're still a very young country. But the problems of aging are very old. And I think throughout history, people were trying to overcome the miseries and diseases that affect people as they age. Being at the Weizmann Institute, the way we approach is to try to understand the fundamental biological processes by which the aging person becomes reduced in his ability to enjoy life, to be independent, to perform the way they would like to perform. So reduction in quality of life, reduction in span of life. And in order to look at those processes, many scientists across the campus came together with an initiative supported by Sami and Tova Sagol. They established the Institute for Longevity Research at the Weizmann Institute, focusing on all the different directions that impact quality of life. This includes, of course, neurodegeneration, Alzheimer, but also processes that are molecular, including defects in DNA repair, accumulation of mutations, fibrosis of tissue, changes in telomere length, changes in the number of senescent cells, the loss of ability to clear these senescent cells by immune cells. All of these are processes that accumulate together to increase the incidence of cardiac disease, of cancer, other cardiovascular effects, dementia, and so on. So these together are the diseases that haunt the economy and actually provide a challenge which is related to the well-being of people as well as the ability to provide care. Obviously, biological interventions of the last generation, the new kind of therapeutics that are being brought into the market, the ones earlier mentioned by our chairman, are extremely expensive, and they're very effective, but they're not effective to all patients. One of the challenges that we believe is very important is to be able to predict response in order to minimize the number of patients that we treat with these very expensive drugs to those that would actually benefit from them. So this is one challenge, but I actually would like to highlight the fact that immune therapy for cancer, particularly the CAR-T approach for immunotherapy, started with basic research about 15 years ago at the Weizmann Institute by a researcher that was interested in the mechanisms by which cancers evade the immune system. And it's important to remember that fundamental research, basic research, is at the bottom. This is the spring or the fountain from which the entire industrial revolution starts from. And we need to make sure that when we focus on innovation and exploitation of knowledge, we continue to fertilize the basic research occurring in academic institutions to make sure that we're not depleting the next generation from the innovations they deserve, which are being studied right now within university. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing your views. Very interesting. Now we have Wilson Cardoso, diretor de soluções da Nokia, que vai, especialista na área de tecnologia e telecomunicações, e vamos ver um pouco da reflexão que ele pode nos trazer sobre longevidade e tecnologia da informação e telecomunicação.
Thank you very much. I ask permission for the ladies and make my pitch in Portuguese. Okay. Bom, muitos de vocês devem estar perguntando o que a Nokia está fazendo aqui. Eu acho que uma primeira explicação é que nós não fabricamos mais dispositivos, smartphones há 5 anos. Isso foi vendido às operações. Hoje existe uma empresa chamada HMD que fabrica os telefones em nome da Nokia. Nós cuidamos basicamente da conectividade das redes. Então, conectamos os smartphones que estão na mão de muitos dos senhores e senhoras aqui presentes. Bom, qual que é a nossa visão um pouco da longevidade das pessoas? Hoje no Brasil, nós investimos mais ou menos 3,6% do PIB em saúde. Se nós levarmos a longevidade das pessoas para os 90 anos, nós vamos precisar investir 9% do PIB em saúde. É um salto gigante. Então, como nós podemos fazer isso? Então, algumas perguntas básicas que a gente poderia fazer na maior cidade do país. Quantas ambulâncias nós temos nas ruas de São Paulo agora? Alguém tem uma ideia? Ninguém sabe. Quantos leitos de UTI nós temos disponíveis na cidade de São Paulo agora? Na rede pública e na rede privada disponível? Alguém tem ideia? Ninguém sabe. Quanto de sangue B negativo nós temos disponíveis nos bancos de sangue da cidade de São Paulo agora? Alguém sabe? No total, ninguém sabe. São perguntas básicas que a gente poderia ter em termos de saúde. E a gente não sabe. Isso vale para São Paulo, talvez vale para Londres, talvez vale para Tóquio. Então, o que nós estamos analisando na Nokia é a jornada nossa em termos de saúde e como nós podemos melhorar essa jornada na nossa vida. Começando do básico e aí aproveitando um pouco a apresentação inicial sobre sensores. Como nós podemos ligar melhor esses sensores que estão surgindo no mercado no dia a dia? Ou seja, desde sensores básicos de temperatura, os sensores que nós temos nos nossos smartphones hoje, que indicam quantos são os passos que nós demos hoje. Isso é relevante? É super relevante, porque isso melhora a minha condição de saúde. Amanhã nós vamos ter sensores que medem a nossa pressão cardíaca. Um dia nós podemos sonhar com sensores que vai medir nosso nível de glicose. E por aí vai. Para alguns fãs de ficção científica, né? Até aquele tricórdia do Star Trek, que vai me dizer como está a minha situação física e real em todo o tempo. Isso é enviado para o meu médico e eu tenho uma situação real de saúde todo o tempo. Eu que viajo bastante em toda a América Latina e boa parte do mundo, eu sempre tenho um pânico de saber o seguinte: se eu sofrer um acidente em algum lugar do mundo, qual é a minha história com o médico que o médico vai ter em outro país meu? Ele não sabe nem meu tipo sanguíneo. Então, isso é um ponto a gente se preocupar, né? O segundo ponto é o seguinte: num caso de acidente, qual é a ambulância mais perto que está de mim? Por que não me conectar com essa ambulância? E no momento que eu entrar na ambulância, essa ambulância está conectada com o hospital e já jogar todos esses dados para dentro do hospital. Isso nós estamos fazendo na China hoje. Então, a partir do momento que eu chego dentro do hospital, grande parte do que os exames já foram feitos dentro da ambulância já estão conectados dentro do hospital. E a ambulância vai comandar todo o sistema de semaforização da cidade para fazer a rota mais rápido possível para dentro do hospital. Chegando no hospital, eu vou estar conectado já com os mesmos sensores que monitoram no dia a dia para controlar minha temperatura, controlar minha pressão, dentro do sistema do hospital, num prontuário eletrônico, não mais num prontuário manual, como muito é feito hoje. Isso vai fazer parte do meu histórico. E depois da minha vida, talvez no meu operatório, no meu pós-operatório, procurar levar a pessoa para fora do hospital o mais rápido possível e monitorar a pessoa no ambiente que ela está mais confortável, que é a casa nossa, através de sistemas pós-operatórios. Outros exemplos que a gente está fazendo também ao redor do mundo são para as pessoas, por exemplo, que sofrem de Alzheimer. Possibilitar que a família monitore essa pessoa remotamente, de forma não tão intrusiva. Dizer o seguinte, a pessoa, a rota normal do dia a dia dela é sair de manhã, ir até a padaria ou fazer suas compras no seguinte roteiro. Se ele sair desse roteiro, o que eu faço? Eu mando um alarme para a família. É significativo isso tremendamente. São pequenas alterações que a gente pode fazer no dia a dia, através de conectividade, conectando mais as pessoas e fazendo isso em mudança da nossa sociedade. Então é isso que a Nokia está buscando em termos de solução, conectando mais as pessoas, os hospitais e os consultórios. Claro que em cima disso nós estamos buscando soluções de inteligência artificial, junto com nossos parceiros, que ajudam, por exemplo, em diagnósticos de câncer de pele, que ajudam em diagnósticos de exames de vistas. Com tudo isso, qual é o grande problema? É interiorizar esses exames. Como a gente leva isso para a parte remota do país? Através de conexões de satélite, de conexões remotas com as novas redes, por exemplo, como a gente faz com o 5G. E para finalizar um pouco esse comentário, até para a gente deixar mais tempo para o debate, um dos grandes exemplos que a gente está fazendo, claro que ele começou na casa da Nokia, na Finlândia, no Hospital de Oulu. O que nós podemos automatizar dentro do hospital? Até nós temos uma pequena demonstração, desculpa do merchandising aqui, do stand. Mas qual é a vida de uma enfermeira no hospital? Temos depoimento de uma enfermeira que diz o seguinte: por semana eu caminhava 25 quilômetros dentro do hospital. Para quê? Fazer distribuição de medicamento. Hoje ela não caminha mais 25 quilômetros dentro do hospital. Grande parte disso foi substituído por um robô que leva o medicamento da central de medicamento para os quartos. Ela dedica esse tempo agora a cuidar dos pacientes. É uma mudança radical? É. O investimento do robô em função do tempo da enfermeira, eu estou multiplicando o tempo da enfermeira agora. Essa é uma das mudanças que a gente quer fazer em termos de tecnologia e é isso que nós estamos fazendo em termos de conectividade. É trazer tudo isso na nossa jornada, na nossa vida.
Thank you very much. I thank you all the speakers for the introduction, whole range of considerations that we are bringing to our debate here. I must make a disclaimer here because I'm on a panel about longevity. I am myself a mathematical physicist who has been professor at the University of São Paulo, doing what we could call useless science, proving theorems that, as you know, is the last and least important step in the process of knowledge, because when a theorem is proven, everybody knows that that's true. Rarely a theorem is proved before you know it's true. But anyway, but this brings us to the question that is underlying this panel, and it is a big challenge here in Brazil. We have a scientific community that grew strongly in the last 30, 40 years. Brazil represents something like 2 to 2.5% of the scientific output of the world. I would not say that's 2.5% of the scientific output published in the leading papers, but still it's 2.5. It's an important step that the country did in these 40 years. But on the other hand, we have a challenge that the culture of entrepreneurship is not being developed in the same pace. within our university system. I remember a visit we had from Professor Mildred Dresselhauser. She was the discoverer of the nanotube. She was a professor at MIT, and she was here in Brazil, and then I asked her the question I'm posing to this panel now about this culture of entrepreneurship in the US. How did she feel that? And then she told me something that was very impressed me, and it was 15 years ago. And she said, well, at MIT, it was very common to have excellent students that could not complete their course because they were too involved with their companies. Next day, I went to university to teach my quantum mechanics course, the physics department, and I asked my students how many of them had dreamed or have a nightmare that they might be involved in their own companies. And there was a terrifying silence in the classroom. Nobody were understanding my question. People, I had the feeling that, well, what this guy doing? Please teach us quantum mechanics. You don't ask us this kind of question. So this is a challenge. We have to change this culture in Brazil, that entrepreneurship is important, is beautiful, and it's good. And so my question to you, Erika, first, is what in your country you feel are the driving elements of this culture of entrepreneurship that's also happening in Switzerland now?
So I suppose if you compare with US, so my feeling in US, the people are not afraid of failing. And this afraid of failing, that is still very much there in Switzerland also. And so I think that in US you still have much more companies coming out. The other thing is the funding. This is getting better in Switzerland, but I think still in US it's even better. On the other hand, I need to say that if you have a good idea, if the startup is really solid and having a really market there, I mean, it's easy to collect this money. Like the case of Actia, this our startup company for the blood pressure, continuous blood pressure measurement, medical grade, they closed their first round in 24 hours. So that's possible. It's also the question of making startup companies out of companies, out of mixing academia and companies. I think this is an interesting thing also, but we'll see how to tackle that. At CSM, we have a program so-called Postdoc for Industry, so we welcome bright talents from academia to mature the idea in 2 years, and then they can make us their startup company in Switzerland.
Thank you. I was also a student at the ETH, at the Zurich, where I got my PhD. So, but it's impressive that you have two arms. You have a strong basic science arm, and you have a main applied science arm, especially in the pharmaceutical industry. Of course, there are branches in the US that contribute a lot to the innovation in this pharmaceutical industry in Switzerland.
One comment that I have still is that I think that the entrepreneurship is in the genes in the Brazilians, so I don't feel that there is any problem of making a lot of startup companies here. Maybe the problem is more to stay longer time on one topic here.
Right. Good.
Fernando, may I compliment?
Of course, please.
Yes, I did my PhD at MIT, and for me it was a shock when I came from Brazil to Germany, and Germany to MIT to make my PhD. And for me it was a shock personally, because it's a completely different world. It was in the 90s. Mainly, I think the difference is the point that Erika mentioned is the environment, because people start something, they finish. Here, start jumping from one point to another, but one substantial difference between now, I think, Brazil today and Brazil in the 90s is that we have more the universities working with the companies. It's not only the case of Nokia today, but we have other companies doing the same. We're investing a lot in universities. We have a big project running with the Campina Grande University in Northeast Brazil. We're developing 4 or 5 big projects, 2 related to healthcare, 1 to e-health, based on the new technologies, and we have people with very competence. We have also people going to Finland, and people from Finland came to Campina Grande. So it's a different environment, but we have a long path to learn. And also, it's not, I think, a problem from the universities, it's also a problem from the Brazilian companies to be more connected to the universities. It's a problem from both sides.
Michal, please.
If I can comment as well, I'd like to present a completely different point of view. So we actually do not allow our students to be involved in industrial type projects. We make sure that they remain focused on basic research during their PhD. This is actually critical because once you allow industrial agenda to influence the PhD, this would be dictated by milestones and immediate concerns, revenue returns, rather than the interest that can come from off-target findings that are not in the mission of the industry. So while we produce 20% of the PhDs of the country within the Weizmann Institute, during the PhD, they should be focused on basic research. If there is an invention, this is disclosed to the Technology Transfer Office and licensed out so that industry can take it towards exploitation. The way we describe that is that it is the role of academia to convert money into knowledge, and it is the role of industry to convert knowledge into money. So there is a clear incentive why you would like to separate the two. On the other hand, most of our graduate students, once they complete their studies, they do go to industry. And when they do that, they need the skills of entrepreneurship, and we do include that as part of the curriculum for our graduate students.
I particularly enjoyed your statement here because there is a misconception in this country because some people do expect from the university something that the university should not be doing. The university should prepare people, should provide people with good quality, good formation in science and basic science. And what is for the university to do is not the same as the enterprise had to do. However, there is a spirit of entrepreneurship that's lacking here in our university. This is a different story. I agree with you, because people here in Brazil very often criticize the university because the university don't have too many patents. In the US, only 2% of the patents come from universities. 98% comes from the industry. So it's not for the university to do that. Universities to form good people with basic knowledge in technology, and I think this is an important misconception that's present when people analyze the role of the university in Brazil. I agree with you. That's a very good point that we have. One other topic that we would like to make comments, if you feel like that, is the question of some national projects that should have been proposed in this country. For instance, a genome of Brazil. Many countries are conducting genome projects with their own population, which can be very helpful in preventing and analyzing disease incidence and so on and so forth. And I think that probably Michel will be more comfortable to address this question than the other two panelists here.
Right, so Israel actually decided to launch a 10,000 genome project. This is just beginning to take steps. There are many regulatory issues. I think one of the most important one among those is to correctly engage the public, because there are a lot of concerns regarding privacy issues. We're a very small country, so any identifier would immediately identify the individual. But of course, the benefit of such a project are well recognized. One of the strengths of doing that in Israel, and I'd be curious to hear about the situation in Brazil, the healthcare system in Israel is national. It's carried out by 4 HMOs, health providers, and most of them started to collect electronic medical records 20 years ago. So this is one of the strengths of this initiative, that those genomes would now be connected to 20 years of longitudinal studies, including all the blood tests, all the medical visits, all hospitalizations, and so on. And we believe that because of that, this would be a very important resource. Within the Weizmann Institute, the people who were most excited with this are computer scientists who are eager to study this as a large database. So big science, AI, and so on.
Great, thank you. No, this next question I address to Wilson, because this is, I mean, what are the opportunities that you identify here in Brazil, considering the emerging technologies that we have been discussing?
Thank you. What we can imagine is what we can do to handle this combination that we have a big country with a very spread population, with combination of big cities and population in remote areas. This is how we can bring medical facilities to Amazonas, for example. How we can have the same service that I have in São Paulo in Manaus. How we can have the same service that I have in São Paulo in the Amazon rainforest. Those are the points that we need to focus on, my vision. The second point is how we can have for the whole population the same services, and also educate people to move in the medical systems. One of the biggest problems that we are working really with the Campina Grande University, remember me, is we have a lot of people that go to the public service, the SUS, as called in Brazil. They go for the first consultation, then they forget to go to the second consultation because they don't have the tools to remember that. What we are creating with the university is a simple application that remembers people on the day that they should go to the hospital for the second time, and starts to send remarks every 2 hours when they should leave the home to be in time the hospital. You can imagine that we save 50% of the consultations and the lines. This is a lot of time from the doctors. It's very simple. I mean, this is the things that we can elaborate more and start also to create. Or send messages to people to remember them to take the pills in the right time. Very simple things that you can do and start to improve the health from the people in the country. I think those are the things that we can start to bring to the population and for sure increase the value chain as we talk in the terms of health.
Erika, I think you have some experience here in Brazil. Maybe you could comment on that. I mean, what are the opportunities that you personally identify for this emerging technologies here in Brazil?
I will first give you a very personal insights what I experienced in Brazil. So when I was setting up CESEM Brazil in Belo Horizonte, I had also the opportunity to learn to know a bit better the hospital in Belo Horizonte. And the reason was that my first son was born in Belo Horizonte. Okay, the equipments, there are not a lot of equipments, but the doctors are just fantastic. And they listen here. I think the best thing in Brazil are the people really, and the doctors, they were fabulous. My second son was born in Switzerland, in a Swiss hospital with a lot of equipment, with the doctors that don't listen to even to the patient. So if I would have had that third one, I would have come back to Brazil to have my child born here. This is one thing that I think we need really to keep in mind with all the technologies, not to forget that we are humans and the humans should be in the center. And also we need to have then the staff that can handle of the technologies, that can handle and understand what is the sensor output really meaning, right? Because otherwise it's useless. And yes, I really congratulate all the doctors in Brazil that I have learned to know. They are fabulous.
I don't know how much, Michal, you are familiar with the Brazilian research system. I understand that you represented this view in a very strong way that we need a strong basic research system in the university. But I would like to share with you guys an experience we had almost 20 years ago when at the time I was scientific director of an agency here in São Paulo, FAPESP. And we launched the program for small business research. Just like we are copying the similar program in the USA, SBIR. And at the time, there was a strong reaction from the scientific community because FAPESP was using the money that was supposed to be going to basic research to fund technological innovation. And worse than that, there was a strong reaction because I think people thought that there would be no qualified demand for that. There would be no good projects that should get good science aiming at technological innovation. And these people had a completely wrong perception. Though I was a theoretical physicist, I insisted on experimenting. Say, let's probe and see what's the reaction. And the reaction was fantastic. This program is now funding almost 2 companies a week. 2 companies a week in the last 20 years. So in a sense, the feeling is that, you cannot define a priori which are the areas where you should invest, but you should just give room for the creativity and the expertise to flourish. I think we are about to finish our panel here. I open for the final remarks of the participants. If you will. Wilson?
I think as a country we need to really believe what we want to be and consequences of that. People is living more. Longevity is going to 80s, 50s, 90s. The cost associated to that is increasing, but also quality of people we need to improve the quality of people living to 80s, 90s years. This is a problem of state. Also, privacy of our data is a concern of everyone, where this data is going. We need to make really choices about that. It's a personal choice, it's a country choice, and we need to be part of this choice. And also, we can improve a lot the system with more performance, using better the resources that we have today, and we believe that we have a good path ahead of us. Is better users from our resources, improving more technology on that, and bring everything that is possible in terms of innovation and connectivity, and make the basic research for the future. Is the message that I'd like to finally give here.
Thank you.
think as the population is aging, one of the things that we need to look at is not only how to diagnose, how to understand disease, how to treat disease, but also, of course, how to prevent it. And this is the most economically effective means in order to combat the diseases that haunt us with aging. We heard a little bit about the self-responsibility related to lifestyle choices, avoiding smoking, avoiding the sun, eating correctly, eating egg replacement instead of eggs. But of course, some of the exposures are actually related to the environment. And I think as we discover those, it's important that the governing bodies, city planning, industry would react to that in order to improve health and improve aging through reduction of harmful exposures. This includes things like better water, reducing air pollution, and so on. And this is something that is very important. It's not part of the health system, but it would reduce health costs, perhaps more than anything else.
Thank you.
I think that Brazil has lots of challenges. But it's also having a good point in that you don't have so many strict structures like in Europe. What I see very often is, but this is already working, so we should maybe not take in a new technology here. Here, I mean, what I see, how you are using the mobile phone, I mean, you are much more, you are using it much better and more than the people in Europe are using. So I have the feeling that you can adapt much quicker new technologies. The challenge is that it's a big country and it's different demands, like was already explained earlier. You have poor people and poor areas, no connectivity, and you have big cities with a lot of connectivity. So I think you should make solutions for different cases and solve things one by one.
Thank you. We are about to finish timely our panel. I think that we had a very good excursion here about longevity as a consequence and as a driving motor of innovation and science. Thank you very much.
Agradecemos aos debatedores. Ouvimos aqui Erika Györvary, coordenadora de tecnologia do CSEM, Centro Suíço de Eletrônica e Microtecnologia, Michal Neeman, vice-presidente do Weizmann Institute of Science, Wilson Cardoso, diretor de soluções da Nokia, e o debate contou com a moderação de José Fernando Perez, diretor-presidente da Recepta Biopharma. E os nossos convidados falaram sobre as mudanças no perfil da população mundial causadas pelo aumento da expectativa de vida e sobre as tecnologias que vêm surgindo para contribuir para o prolongamento da vida com qualidade. E ainda teremos muito conteúdo no 8º Congresso Brasileiro de Inovação da Indústria,